So, over the course of the week, there has been a very topical issue which is being discussed as the Black Stars head to their fifth World Cup. And the question is, who should be Ghana's number one goalkeeper heading into this World Cup? On the one side, you have Benjamin Asare. And on the other side, you have people who say it should not be Benjamin Asare or it cannot be Benjamin Asare. We need to dig deep, either call on other goalkeepers who are yet to naturalize for Ghana or stick with the status quo before Benjamin Asare. Today, I address this issue and then give my side on who I think should be Ghana's number one goalkeeper. But the first thing I should address is how we have approached this conversation, especially on social media, Twitter to be specific, in this discourse. Because the discourse has moved from people expressing their opinion to more of personal attacks on journalists and journalists retaliating to these personal attacks. We've been able to shut down the conversation that anyone who opposes Benjamin Asare hates Benjamin Asare for no reason, and the other side arguing that anyone who does not want Benjamin Asare has an agenda. It is preposterous that we as a people should engage in a conversation like this. I mean, recently you have people attacking the journalistic credentials and the hard work journalists have built over time just because of such a discourse. So I'm going to present you a view without any agenda, without any bias, as to why we should have this conversation, as to why people should be allowed to have their opinions if they don't think Benjamin Asare cuts it. And then the question everyone asks, if not Benjamin Asare, who? I'm going to address that on today's episode of the Sulia podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. The very important thing I would want us to notice is that I think in having this discourse, there are bad faith actors. That's something we can all agree on. But there are actors like myself who have genuine concerns. And I think it's very pivotal that we are warmful and we are able to accept them having their opinion on this matter for a fear or for the fact that they have not seen what others see yet. So the first thing I would want to address is the claim that is made that Ghana had a problematic issue with its goalkeeping department and Benjamin Asare, since coming in with his 7 caps, have solved the issue. The first thing I would like to say is that what brought about the urgent need for Benjamin Asare is the African Cup qualification and how bad Ghana performed during the African Cup qualification. And then Benjamin Asare came in with his first game being against Chad. This is how I'll address this. I think that with Ghana's African Cup qualification, it was not down to one department. It was not down to the goalkeeper. It was not just down to the midfield or just down to the attacking impetus. It was just a general discombobulation of the Ghana Football Association, of the players, of the management, as to how they broke down in matters of who is a captain or whatnot. It was just a bad effort on everyone. And I think that after that, people had a second chance. Others did not get a second chance. I do not think that I can look at a certain game and people can tell me that we lost to, say, Sudan or we lost to Angola because it was the goalkeeper's fault. I don't think any of that happens. But then, again, I think, who do I want? I think Ati Zigi should be fine. This is why I think Ati Zigi should be fine. Because if you look at the generic performances of Ati Zigi in his 28 caps for the senior national team, he has not been a 10. It's not a 10 over 10. It's not been average as well. I think it's a little bit above average. If you think I'm lying, we can go back to Ati Zigi's performances in the World Cup against Korea. TSN's YouTube comment page right now, everybody hails how Ati Zigi was the block between Ghana and South Korea. Even in the games against Portugal and his performances, Ati Zigi's performances in Bamako in preparing for the World Cup or in playing the World Cup qualifiers. These are things we do not give him credit for, because just as he has a lot of wrongs, he has a lot of rights as well, and I think people don't pay attention to that. He's been at fault for some goals in the past, but I think overall and generally, he's put up some good performances we do not give him the acknowledgement for. Against Mali in Bamako, I think Ati Zigi is one of the reasons why Ghana didn't lose to Mali. Ati Zigi put up some good performances and which we have to acknowledge him for. So if you look at it from the lens of the games we played in the African Cup qualification, then you are wrong, because not only was there issues with the goalkeeping, there were issues with the general play of the Black Stars. But then secondly, let's address the issue of the caps, the 7 caps Benjamin Asare has had for Ghana. There have been games against Chad, home and away. That's 2 games. There was a game against Nigeria. That's 3. There was a game against Mali in Accra, Comoros. He's also been in the post against South Korea and Japan. These are 7 games. Generally, and if we are being honest, we still do not have a metric to judge Benjamin Asare based on these 7 games. Because, first of all, we've not had any opportunity to determine that if the going gets tough, if we need a goalkeeper to pull up saves from the stops, can it really be Benjamin Asare? He's never really had any crucial test. And admittedly, that is no fault of Benjamin Asare. In fact, we can even say that, and I forgot to add the Madagascar game in Morocco and the Central African Republic game. In fact, we can even say that due to Benjamin Asare's aerial ability and due to Benjamin Asare's command of the backline, that's why he does not face these opportunities or he does not face these chances. But I beg to differ. What I would say again is that if you juxtapose how the Black Stars was in general discombobulation in the African Cup qualifiers, the team as a general has improved dramatically for the World Cup qualifiers. The World Cup qualifiers, Ati Zigi has kept us in with his performances at Bamako. And so it is really hard for him to concede chances, and because the whole team is taken effectively. I am of the view that if you put in Ati Zigi, we would have had the same result we've had with Benjamin Asare. But again, that would also be disingenuous on my side because it means I'm not giving Benjamin Asare his credit. So then it gives us, we are in this gray area or gray zone where we do not know that is Benjamin Asare outperforming or he's not been put to the sword. I believe that he's not been put to the sword yet, and the few times he's been put to the sword, I don't think he came out with flying colors, i.e. the game against Nigeria, which I think was a better opposition. Now, the problem is this. The reason why people will be undecided is that, again, we've not had a doubt or we've not had a reason to see that this guy is going to perform well when he comes up against the Hurricanes or the Modric's or the Brozovic's. We have no idea how he would perform because Ghana did not qualify for the African Cup of Nations. There is a test or theory of his expected goals and how he performs when there are expected goals. There's still not enough. We can't just say it is Sum ball or he has a good omen. We need to have a science behind that. And because of that uncertainty, I would always go with a goalkeeper I know, be it not above average. He'll be someone I would always go with and trust for this position. But then thirdly, there has been this argument that this is a Sami J issue. No, this is not a Sami J issue because Sami J, if you look at the facts, had been with the Black Stars for a very long time. So we could assess Sami J's performances because he was at the AFCON and he had kept for a long time. But this is the case where the test for Benjamin Asare is 7 to 8 games. We do not have enough statistics to prove that when the going gets tough, this is someone who would show up. Is it Benjamin Asare's fault? I don't think it's Benjamin Asare's fault because I think the best place we could have had that judgment was the African Cup of Nations. I would have had no problem if Benjamin Asare was Ghana's number 1 going into the African Cup of Nations because it means that there are tough spots and he's been put in a position where he has to prove himself. But we didn't have the African Cup of Nations, unfortunately. What we have are a set of friendly match, which I believe we are not even going to go with our best players. We are going to test our theory. So it is not even the best way to even to have an evaluation on Benjamin Asare. But then it is still a way we can take into consideration. But the final thing I would like to address is on the case of where they play, how they play, if they should play. Generally, we've all had a consensus and an agreement that if you want to play for the senior national team of the Black Stars of Ghana, you'd have to be playing at the top level. That is why people think, well, Andre Ayew plays for Nagbreda. That's why, so he can't be called. That's why people are saying that some of our players do not play in the top or elite leagues. That's why you do not call a player who is even doing well in the Tanzanian league. The Tanzanian league, which is better than the Ghana Premier League. So how have our metric changed all of a sudden? Why is it that someone plays in Switzerland for St. Gallen, plays at the top league, plays with a very competitive league? Why is that all of a sudden we are backtracking from that and saying, well, the Ghana League, which we all have a consensus to that, the Ghana League is not the best we've seen so far. Why have we backtracked on that? And in this, I'm referring to Coach Nimli because Coach Nimli is one of my great friends. And he has always been of the view that if you want to select a player into the Black Stars, he has to be playing at the elite level. I don't think that Benjamin Asare being impervious against Kumasi Asante Kotoko in the state in which they are Mind you, Benjamin Asare's Hearts of Folk is different from Sami Eje's Hearts of Folk. This Hearts of Folk team or that Kumasi Asante Kotoko team, if Benjamin Asare is putting up top performances, that cannot convince me that he's going to, because he put up big performances against Kumasi Asante Kotoko, I should put him in post against Panama or England or Croatia. At the end of the day, this is just my opinion. I don't think we are following the metric or standard we've set for each other. I think Ati Zigi has a longer test of or set of data for people to choose from, but Benjamin Asare does not have. He has 7 or 8 caps. I don't think he's had any favors with the fact that Ghana did not qualify for the AFCON. I think we are forgetting some of the good stuff Ati Zigi has shown himself to be able to do. Ostracizing him and put him in at the back and not giving this moment, I wouldn't say it's unfair. I think it's good that the technical team is trying out Benjamin Asare. But if you ask me, I think Ati Zigi heading into the World Cup should be Ghana's #1 goalkeeper. However, I don't have any problem with us trying Benjamin Asare out. The problem at the end of the day is that if you do not allow people to have these discourses, and if you take an entrenched position, this is very important because people are taking entrenched positions. There's Benjamin Asare or no one else. If you take this entrenched position, it means when Benjamin Asare makes mistakes, you try to overlook it and be like, oh, it's just mistakes, it can happen. If you also take an entrenched position that it shouldn't be Benjamin Asare at all, you'll be trying to nitpick and find faults. I don't think we should have factionalism in this. This is the senior national team we are talking about. People should keep an open mind. And then we all have to work at a bigger goal, which is we want the best for the Black Stars. Let me know in your thoughts and in the comment section who you think should be Ghana's #1 goalkeeper. If you have any problems with my submission, I will humbly like to hear it. My name is Safo Kwame Oheneba, and it was nice coming your way.